Hello there, you've tuned into Granny Horse Training, and I'm doing a little thing on feeds and feeding, seeing as Lacey's not feeling well, still recovering from her digestive upsets. Let's talk about how sensitive horses are and how sensitive their digestive tracts are. And they're meant to be trickle feeders, so hopefully they're either out on pasture or having hay fed in slow feed hay bags so that the ration is spread out during the day and at night. But anyhow, boy, what an array of stuff. I start putting up the stuff. There is a few different things I'm feeding right now to try to help Lacey in her recovery efforts, and she is getting better. We determined it was, or I determined, it's too many daisies along her track, and she was just chowing down on them more than I've ever seen any horse do. Horses don't usually eat daisies, but I had a client who had her horse was eating daisies too and getting a lot of gas, but not to the extent that Lacey was having problems. Anyways, the base of my feeding program, besides feeding forage and a slow feed hay bag, is to have haystack Timothy grass pellets. Let's move the bag of salt. And there's other brands of Timothy hay pellets, and there's also Bermuda hay, depending on where you're living. Depend on what kind of grass hay pellets you can get. And then there's another product called Haystack Naturals Low Fat, Low Sugar, or Low Starch. It's a blend of hay and beet pulp and rice bran and flaxseed all together. And so that's something else I feed. Right now, Lacey is getting just the Timothy grass pellets, while Sugar Babe is getting 50-50 of this, and so is and Babbet a tiny portion of some pellets and this to go with their salt. First I put salt, granular salt, in their feed. Right now they're getting about 1.5 teaspoons, so, and they morning and night, and so they also got a salt block, so they lick on that. You can give up to 2 tablespoons a day, so that'd be a tablespoon morning and night. I suggest you work your way up to that because some horses won't like that much salt in their feed. Lacey's actually getting some electrolyte right now because she has been losing extra water, so and wanting to replace not only sodium but potassium and magnesium and some calcium lactate in this. So this has got salt, potassium chloride, magnesium sulfate, calcium lactate, potassium sulfate, and it's got some artificial apple flavor and artificial coloring. But this was the electrolyte I could find. And my main thing is feeding California Trace, which it comes in a bag, but this is the little insert that comes with it, and you get a little measuring cup for the type you get. There's 2 formulas of California Trace, the plus and the regular. Right now I'm feeding the regular, and I put it in a container like this that's airtight because the bag it comes in is not airtight. So, and the California Trace will supply all your copper, zinc, lysine, methionine, selenium, iodine, vitamin A, and vitamin E, and biotin, 20 milligrams biotin. Sometimes people don't feel like the amount of vitamin E that's in their regular formula is enough, so they'll buy some vitamin E capsules and just boost with a little bit of extra vitamin E. But don't go overboard on things. Check your nutrient requirements, and then along with your hay, or if they're grazing, if they're getting fresh grazing, you probably don't need the extra vitamin E. But mine aren't. They're getting just hay, so that's why she gets a little extra vitamin E. Lacey, because she's young and still developing, and still hoping to get 1 more inch out of growth out of her, I'm feeding her dicalcium phosphate powder, also called dical powder by Animed, to get her, because there's not quite enough calcium and phosphorus in the hay. So the ratio is good, but not quite enough of it. Some of your hays will not have enough phosphorus, and then you can just buy phosphorus. I also, right now, Lacey's got upset tummy, so she's getting some Uckele Gut supplement, and this has got things to help soothe the digestive tract, and then also has some probiotics, but not quite enough. So I am upping her probiotics by feeding an additional probiotic right now to her. And this I just got at my local feed store. Seemed to be had a lot of good levels of the different probiotics. So I'm feeding her this too. Yeah, it gets expensive. She was having a little bit of sand too, and you can check for sand by taking a gallon Ziploc freezer baggie and putting a good glob load of manure into it and putting a bunch of water in there and then kind of holding it and setting it like in a funnel or something else that'll say the sand will settle into the corner of the bag, and that's how you can check. I already did a 7-day sand purge with this, the psyllium pellets, but I think that might have added to some of her digestive upsets. Some horses' stomach gets upset by too much of the fiber from the psyllium all at once like that. So, and I don't think it took care of all their problem. So I'm now feeding to get, chia seeds can be used too for helping to purge sand, but they're also a really good source of omega-3 fatty acids. So you may want to feed a little bit of chia seeds anyhow. What was the amount on that? Chia seeds. For sand clearing, that takes 1/3 of a cup morning and night for 10 to 20 days with the chia seeds. 1/3 of a cup morning and night. And that much all at once might upset her stomach. She might have got a little upset by it, but now she's adjusting and hopefully is pulling more sand out. For normal maintenance, to just get the omega fatty acids, they only need like a 1/4 cup morning and night will be more than sufficient for that. And let's see, then I'm also feeding some bentonite clay, which is good for detoxification. This is food grade, it's all natural for internal and external use. And I used a scale to weigh and figure out how much was in my little spoon, because the instructions on that was to feed 1 ounce per day. So she'd get a 1/2 ounce morning and night. So in your feed room or up in your house or whatever, I put it in a Ziploc bag to keep it clean because I use it in my kitchen too. A digital scale comes in really handy when you're doing feeds and feeding and you want to know how much is a supplement, how much of a supplement you're going to give, and there's not enough explanation on the product itself, or you need to dose it down smaller for a smaller animal. So that would help. But that's pretty much with the feeds and feeding. Salt, possibly electrolytes, but definitely those two things. California, a base so they have something to eat. Add some water to it, makes it gruel. The salt and the California trace, maybe some chia seeds for some omega-3 fatty acids. That's the normal thing. The other things are extra for Lacey. So it's really individual. Each 3 of the animals are getting something a little bit different, tweaked a little bit different for each one. So every horse is individual. You can't just feed a blanket one thing good for everybody. So your situation might be different. But that's basically what I'm feeding to my animals, and I thought that information might help you in developing your feed program with your animals. If they're getting, like I said, if they're getting grazing, they're getting some extra A and E vitamins, so they don't need to worry quite as much about those. And some people cheat with the hoof supplement and just buy like the biotin and then maybe some copper and zinc, depending on what they think is in their forage, by getting their forage tested with Equal Analytical. And I highly recommend doing a forage testing if you can all do it, so that will help you developing what's the best things to feed your horses. So thanks for watching. If you're finding some value, consider clicking the subscribe and the notification bell, and click a like or make a comment. Thanks for watching. Bye now.